Hello folks and welcome to Paddock Pass. Just walk straight through my shot, mate. Not a problem. Your pre-race edition for the 2018 Mexican Grand Prix. And that lovely shot that was all set up. Look, everything's got knocked over. Photographers just don't care, do they, man? Honestly, law unto themselves. Kimi Räikkönen was your race winner last time out in Austin. A superb drive from the Finn, proving to anyone that had ever doubted him that when he is given the full support, he can and he does and he will win. Great drive from Kimi, and not before time. He was clearly delighted on Sunday. How does he feel now? A couple of days later, having partied, got over it. He said in the press conference, loved the party, not so much the getting over it. Not so easy these days as he is knocking on 40, aren't we all, Kimi? But yeah, wonderful to see him back on the top step of the podium. Does he think, though, that the changes that Ferrari made going into Austin will put them in that position to win at the last three races of the season? How much satisfaction did you draw from Sunday, being out front, leading, finally taking that win?
Yeah, it's something we always want to do, and it's not easy, unfortunately. So, yeah, it was a good, but
What do you find more enjoyable in a race car? Is it being out in front, controlling the race, dominating like that, or is it actually those races that you have to fight through, battle, and take the positions?
Well, I mean, it didn't come easy, that's for sure. So we needed to fight, and I think it's obviously if you're much faster than others and you get it easily, it's much easier way to get it. But I think it's more paying. It's more feeling better when you have to fight. And we had a few moments that if we wouldn't have dealt with it right, I'm sure might have been different end result. Who knows? But I think it was not just fun for us also to race, but also for people to watch. And I think. That's what's been probably lacking sometimes in F1, depending on circuits and conditions.
The team seems to have discovered where it went wrong a little earlier this season. With 3 races left, can you hope to fight for victory in all the remaining Grand Prix?
Well, we'll try, but obviously every track is different, especially from where we just came to here. With the high altitude, everything is kind of completely different story here. So we'll see how it is tomorrow when we start. Usually it's not easy here. The grip is so low, and it takes a while to get things in the right place. But yeah, we'll work and see where we are.
Now, Lewis Hamilton was expected to be crowned world champion in Austin with Raikkonen's victory and Hamilton ultimately finishing third. It was not to be. Sebastian Vettel has got to win the Mexican Grand Prix and hope that Lewis Hamilton finishes 8th or lower in the race. He admitted today that he's made a few mistakes this year and that people are right to be pointing them out, to be saying this isn't what you should be doing. There he is, actually, just walking by there. This isn't how you win world championships. He's taking that criticism on his shoulders and on his chest, as only, of course, he can. This is, we think, in all but name, a coronation weekend for Lewis Hamilton. As we said, whatever Sebastian does, if Lewis Hamilton finishes 7th or higher in this Grand Prix, he will be crowned world champion for 2018. Let's hear from him as he comes into this weekend. A weekend I'm sure that he'd like to fight Sebastian Vettel, whether it's for the win or for that 7th place. All I think he wants to finish off this world championship season is a fight with the guy that is his great rival, his great nemesis. In this year, when for the first time in Formula One history, 2 4-time world champions have fought for that moniker to be a 5-time Formula One world champion.
He's been a great competitor this year, and it's been so hard for the both of us, and I thoroughly enjoy racing with him. So I'm looking forward to hopefully many more years racing and competing together right at the top. And I might as well just put in there also, I heard that there was some stories written taking a comment of mine last week talking about me making mistakes. I don't want to make small mistakes to lose a title, and people were saying that I was taking a dig at Seb. It had zero relevance to Seb. It was talking about how I would perform, and in order to perform at this level, I cannot afford to make mistakes. That's what I've been focusing on. So Sebastian had his penalty. He had to start further back, so he had to go all out. He had to take risks that I perhaps didn't have to take. So for me, I really just needed to finish third and just bag those points really. But naturally, I'm a racing driver, so I wanted to move forwards. But the weight in which I needed to take risk was not as big as it was for Sebastian. So I would have done exactly the same as if I was him. Just winning the championship has obviously always been the goal. And I remember when I won my first, there was talks of, I think one of the ex-champions had said it's always harder to get the second, which it felt like it was. And then but every single one after that has been, again, the first one felt incredibly hard already. But then from then on, it just got harder and harder to win a championship. Even though you're improving, just the competition improves, different circumstances arise. So, but I would say this year particularly has been one of my most enjoyable years with the things that I've been faced with. And so if I were to win the title, I think it would definitely be one that I would probably be most proud of and be able to appreciate most, just being that I'm older, and that's what happens when you get old, I guess. The Ferraris were really quick in the last race, so you have to assume that they're going to be quick this week. If you look at last year, there was the top three were I think were Ferrari, Red Bull, and for some reason, being that the power difference here is kind of irrelevant. You see the Red Bull, which is a great car. They're going to be really quick this weekend. It's going to be hard to beat them. They came second in the last race. I think they're going to be strong in qualifying and in the race this year. So kind of excited for that.
Red Bull Racing were pretty competitive, actually, in Austin. Should we squeeze through here, Steve? Max Verstappen making up 16 places for the second time in 3 races. Great drive from him, great race, massively exciting. Once again, Max putting on a show for everybody. Now, you may remember a couple of races ago, they reverted back to their B-spec engine, took an engine penalty for that because they wanted the B-spec engine for the high altitude race here, specifically in Mexico. Are they going to stick with that B? Will they revert to the C for this weekend? On a weekend when they have brought updates to their car. Ferrari brought a whole new floor concept to Austin. Incredibly, within the space of the week, and this is how fast things move in Formula One, Red Bull have managed to imitate it. Coincidence? Is there ever such a thing in Formula One? No. For a good few races now, we've been talking about B-spec engines, C-spec engines, high altitude here. What's it to be?
B.
It is to be B.
Yeah.
Excellent. And do you have confidence in that B-spec engine and in the package that you've got for this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, the B has been working quite well over the season in terms of drivability and stuff. So, I think we are well prepared, and we'll find out how it's going to work out throughout the weekend.
2 in the last 3 races, you've made up 16 places on your starting position. Have you enjoyed those Grand Prix?
Yeah, it's been quite a few positions, but I think anyway, when you start in the back, it's a bit more of a challenge. Because you know that you have a better car, but still you need to go through the pack without damaging your car, and especially in the first chaos. Sometimes a lot of parts flying around, so it's really about trying to keep your car alive. And 2 times we managed to do that in a good way. It will not always go that way, but I'm of course happy that it definitely went this way in Russia and in Austin.
Does it show the difference, I don't know, either in the way you're driving or the way in which you're measuring up your moves? When we look back to the first few races of the year and just the grief you were getting after all of those Grand Prix to being now and pulling off those amazingly clean races.
Well, I think, I spoke a lot with my dad throughout those difficult moments, and I heard the same things in go-karting, and he always told me if I think I was not going fast enough, I was still fast enough. If I thought I was going to go slow, it's still good. And I think in the beginning of the season, I was always overdriving maybe a little. I wanted a result too much. And so I just basically slowed down a bit, which made me faster. So.
Amazing. 3 races to go. Can you get the victory in any of these? Do you feel it'll suit you and the package enough?
This is going to be our best chance, so we'll try to do our best.
And so to Williams. This is not going to be an easy one for these guys. Looking at the layout, it's not too far off Monza. It's high speed. Actually, track layout looks quite similar. So you think low downforce, but in reality, high downforce because of the altitudes, thinness of the air. You don't get the downforce that you need. One thing that Williams lacks, downforce. Here's Sergio to explain more.
We're hoping for the rain, otherwise it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy.
What is it about this track that doesn't lend itself to your car?
I would say, I mean, it would probably fit the car much better, but as we all know, the air density, high altitude, all that makes it quite special. Obviously, the aero package we are bringing, it's not the, let's say, wouldn't call it the most optimal. So, I mean, all of that together won't make it easy for us. So, it's going to be tough weekend, probably tough weekend. Also, pure slow speed with no downforce.
This is the thing, you think from the track layout, it's a super fast track, it should suit you guys because you've had a bit of an issue with aero, but you need a lot of aero here because of the altitude.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that the downforce we measure on the cars is probably on the Monza levels, probably even less, while all the people running like Monaco aero packages, so it is quite a weird place, and I mean, we do need a downforce in the car, and I mean, it's still run some corners which potentially would suit us in normal conditions. In those conditions, I'm not too sure they're the best. So, yeah, it's still going to be tricky. It's still going to be very tricky.
Oh, good.
Hello Esteban, how are you?
Very good. You?
Good, yeah, just saw you walking down and I thought I would start my link rather
No
than
problem.
start it and then have you turn up and
Sure.
in the background. I will get you back one day.
Okay, you
this
told
season.
me that in Monaco already.
I know, right? There's 3 races left.
True, exactly.
I have thought of what I'm going to do.
Okay, tell me.
I can't because then you'll be expecting it.
Yeah, well, I tried. I
Yeah,
tried at
okay.
least.
I'm going to give it a go.
No
Anyway.
problem.
Disqualification.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that really quickly?
Yes.
First lap, what happened?
Yeah, I mean, we basically made a mistake on the calibration initially at the start of the race, and then when we went to the normal running mode of the engine, the calibration was fine. So it was just a small mistake, which we didn't gain any performance, but the rule is the rule, and we have to respect it, and fair enough, we've been disqualified because we made a mistake.
And you lost a whole load of positions on that first lap as well.
I did, yeah. So a bit frustrated,
Yeah.
hard to swallow as you push the whole race. Try to get the best result possible, give it all your heart, and in the end, to get disqualified is hard to swallow.
Thanks, man. Good luck this weekend.
Pleasure.
See you later. That's just the maturity of the guy. Quality. Big expectations this week. Esteban Gutierrez. Maybe not so much expectations, actually. That's the wrong way to put it. But rumours certainly starting to circulate that Esteban may be within a chance of that final seat at Williams. It's not looking out of the realms of possibility. Sorokin, as we heard at the end of his interview, there's a chance, not a massive chance, but a chance. Nick de Vries's name, the McLaren Junior, has been linked as well. But Esteban seemingly becoming not a definite, but closer to a chance at a seat. Obviously, Robert Kubica still in there as well, believed to have $10 million to bring to the party, but he wants a decision by December. Let's finish off where we started. Force India. Sergio Perez, always a massively busy weekend for him on home soil, but so much support surely makes it all that much more worthwhile and that much more enjoyable.
No, it's so much support, so much energy from the people here. The fans are the best in the world. Very few drivers in the world get to experience this amount of support from their countries. So for me, it's just amazing.
And the team's been through such a journey this year to be here on the back of that and to still be fighting ultimately to go up the championship. What have you guys got to do this weekend to take that fight to McLaren?
Yeah, it's gonna be important. Every single point counts a lot. For now, only 3 races left, so I really hope that on this weekend we can maximize the performance of the car.
Those guys next to you really stepped it up last time out in Austin. Was that a surprise to Force India?
I want to believe that Austin is a great circuit for them, and that's it, But they were very strong, massive strong. So we'll see how they are here. They should be also very strong, but I believe that we can still beat them.
What gives you the confidence?
The team that I have, the car. I think the coming races in the past year we were strong. We were strong here. We were strong in Sao Paulo. Abu Dhabi, they probably were a bit stronger, but if we can outscore them in the next 2 races, then we have a good chance of becoming best of the rest. So we'll see. It's still a long way. I think it will go down to Abu Dhabi. So let's see what we can do.
Alebrijes. have been created for every F1 driver. They're beautiful things. They are your spirit animal. So they're representative of the animals that you believe kind of represent your core sort of spiritual side for Pierre Gasly. The Gallic, it says Gallic cock there, and say, you know, like the cockerel hen thing, and lion. I think that's pretty magic. The length and breadth, actually, this one, come on, because this is my favourite, Kevin Magnussen's one. It looks like something you get on Cartoon Network. Absolutely love that. It looks like something out of Ren and Stimpy. Or the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, a much missed cartoon. Adore it. Right, we were going to talk about Toro Rosso, weren't we? What are we going to talk about? Let's talk to Pierre Gasly. This obviously high altitude here, Honda engine, how's that going to affect things? How's that going to affect his weekend? And also the physicality for the drivers of being at this high altitude.
Mexico is a cool place to come. Really like the atmosphere, all the spectators. It's really great. In terms of track, it's not my favorite one. I mean, last year was a pretty tough weekend. I didn't drive until the race with all the engine issues we had. So still need to make up for the running I didn't have last year. But really looking forward to start the weekend.
How much is the high altitude going to affect the running this weekend and particularly the power unit?
It's pretty tough for the power unit. Engines don't breathe so much, you know, with the altitude, so you need to run them slightly down compared to usual. But at the same time, the gap between the engines' performance are a bit reduced. So yeah, it's pretty tough also for the car. You know, the downforce is super low, even with the biggest wing on the car, so it makes it quite tough to drive, but quite funny as well. A lot of sliding everywhere. So yeah, it should be cool.
It's quite a physical race, and obviously with the high altitude, what does that take out of you as a sportsman?
I mean, of course you feel it with the altitude, but at the same time the track is not super high speed. You know, you've got quite long straights to recover as well. So in the end, it's tough as always, but not really much tougher than Singapore, for example, where it's really hot, or Budapest, or tracks like this.
Is it not much tougher than Singapore? That's like the toughest race of the year.
Yeah, like Singapore is really special. You know, when you jump out of the car after the race, just trying to stand up is pretty difficult. So you feel the 3 kilos or 3 liters of liquids you've lost during the race.
Carlos Sainz arrives here in Mexico on the back of a brilliant result for Renault last time out in Austin. The team had very much gone off the boil in the last few races. Of course, they'd stopped development of the car, and the likes of Haas and Sauber and Force India were very much more competitive and getting into the top 10. These guys really struggling to get in there. But in Austin, both cars, both drivers in the top 10. Debrief has happened since then. What made the difference that weekend? And can they expect it to continue here in Mexico?
It's probably one of our last chances, you know, of the year to score big points as a team. I think it's a track that should suit us well. Not very power sensitive, and a lot of slow speed corners. That is where our car goes well. And then obviously the fans here, that they create a bit of a football stadium effect in all the 3 stadiums that we have around the lap, and it makes the weekend quite impressive and one of the best ones.
Week ago, Austin, massive result for the team. Having debriefed from that weekend, what do you believe made the difference?
We believe that first of all it was a big team effort to try and bring full performance to Austin. We did have a bit more power. We did have a good thought about setups and how to run the car. We've improved a lot in tire management, which allowed us to do a one-stop without a problem. So it's a big team effort, but at the same time we knew it was a track that could suit us well. And again, we are a bit more relaxed because we have a bit more of a margin, but Mexico could be our last chance to score big points, so we need to use them properly.
So is the pressure on this weekend?
A bit more relaxed pressure, but knowing that as we were strong in Austin, we can be strong here and we can make another strong result. So we are positive pressure because we have a bit more margin, but still knowing that it could be one of our last chances to score big points.
Always love coming back to Mexico City to this race. It's a fantastic track, fantastic place. Love this country, love visiting here. So much so because of its history, its rich history and culture. Spent this week, made a little vlog about it actually. Went to Templo Mayor, the seat of power for the Aztec civilization. Now, this team has had a bit of a tricky one of late. Of course, Grosjean in Austin had a tough one, made that contact with Charles Leclerc, got a penalty point for it. Kevin Magnussen, miserable race, hated every second of it, was fuel saving, didn't save enough. Ultimately 170 grams over the fuel limit for the race. That's 0.16% over how much fuel he should have used. Very vocal in the press over the last few days has Kevin Magnussen been, ultimately about the regulations. Let's see if those last few days have managed to calm his nerve. Spoiler alert, they haven't.
It wasn't a great weekend because we tried very hard to turn it around, and we got in a good position in the race, and then got disqualified for using too much fuel by nothing. And even though we tried, the hardest I've ever tried to save fuel, we were still over the limit, and just felt wrong.
It's 170 grams of fuel, which for your allowance works out at 0.16%. Are rules? Is that something too small to have made any difference at all? What's your feeling on those regulations?
To me, it's nonsense. It doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, why not shorten the lap or shorten the race by a lap or two? No, I don't think anyone would be against that if then everyone is racing hard and just being in a Formula One car, the top pinnacle of motorsport. We spend so much money and resource on getting the last fractions of a second and every detail right, and then you go and drive at half throttle in the last part of the race, and it doesn't make any sense. It wasn't fun, it wasn't great, it was not good to experience.
What would you like it to be?
Flat out, racing everyone, and all the time, the whole race, without having to back off and save fuel, and tires is one thing, but having to actually back off the throttle on the straights to get to the end and then still get disqualified. I mean, what's the point of that?
And so to Sauber. Topsy-turvy weekend for their boys in Austin, if we're being completely honest. In the wet conditions, Ericsson was superb. Leclerc struggled. Come the dry conditions, it was totally the opposite. Leclerc again qualifying in the top 10, but again not finishing the race, this time taken out by Romain Grosjean on lap 1. He persevered for as many laps as he could, but ultimately pulled his car into retirement. Marcus Ericsson, when all of the race exclusions had happened, ended up finishing in the points. So good day for him. I'm going to talk to Charles, though, because, as we said, he's had 2 DNFs now in a row, but more to the point, how much he's struggled in the wet could be a key factor here as we are looking at thunderstorms on Friday and rain potentially onto Saturday and Sunday. He's admitted in Austin that he struggled this season in the wet conditions because the power steering takes that natural feel for the conditions away from him. But obviously, every team in Formula One has power steering. It is something that's in the sport, something he has to master if he is to become that complete driver that Ferrari are going to want him to be when he hits the ground running with them next season.
We have been extremely quick, which is definitely the thing that we need to keep in mind. Obviously, then sometimes it just doesn't want to go your way. I mean, I think there's another driver like this which is Daniel, where he has a crazy season. For us, it's actually a lot better than that, so we are not going to complain. Obviously, it's a shame to see 2 DNF twice, in my opinion, not for my fault. So, we can recover from that. But the most important, as I said, is that the performance is there.
Now, it looks like it's going to rain tomorrow, possibly all the way through the weekend. Last time out in Austin, you said that on the Friday you lacked confidence in the car because of the power steering. Did you manage to gain any confidence with the wet running that we had in America?
A little bit, but I still believe there's a lot more potential in myself on the wet. As I've said in Austin, I think in the junior categories it was my strong point, and I definitely don't think that is my strong point this year in Formula One. So I need to work on it. Obviously, there have not been many wet sessions, but I'll try to catch up with the small amount of time we'll have on the wet.
Are you hoping for a bit of wet running to gain that experience, to build that confidence, obviously before the move to Ferrari next year?
Yeah, definitely. I hope there will be a bit more rain, but in case there's not, it's not a big deal. I mean, I know how to go quick. I just need to find back the feeling on the wet. It is not easy, definitely, because the feeling is something that you can't really help at looking the data or anything. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it will come.
Is that something you're going to need to talk to Ferrari about? Obviously, it's too late in the day to do anything at Sauber, but for next year to talk to them about, giving you a bit more feel on the steering wheel, maybe sort of turning down the power steering a little bit.
Well, I mean, it's very different across teams. So before saying anything, I'll just try what they have.
3 races left now for Stoffel van Dorn at McLaren. 3 races left also for Fernando Alonso at McLaren. News that Stoffel van Dorn will be racing for HWA in Formula E next year. Was that before Austin, during Austin, or after Austin? I can't recall, but it is news. So Stoffel does at least have a seat for next year. Is he confident this weekend coming in here after the season that he's had? I doubt it very much. But like most, I think, at this end of the grid, just hoping for a little bit of rain.
I think Mexico is definitely a special circuit because of the altitude, and everyone is racing with the maximum downforce available here. But actually, it turns out it is less than Monza, so particular track, and yeah, we'll see how we go. It's always a bit of a messy race here with the tight first corner, so we'll see how that favors for us.
How crazy is that in terms of figuring out setup? That it is a very fast track with that massive long straight, and yet you're running quite high downforce because of the altitude.
Yeah, the air is super thin here, so it doesn't really give us a lot of downforce. So actually, the cars feel very, very sketchy to drive, very, very delicate, and yeah, I think practice is important to not really miss any laps and to really fine-tune the setup, because it can, you know, make your balance quite different.
There's a problem with that. Got thunderstorms forecast for tomorrow, rain for Saturday and for Sunday. Do we think it'll be a wet weekend?
I kind of hope it will be a wet weekend. For us this season, it's kind of always rained at the wrong time in practice sessions. But we've seen over the past races, even, you know, when the practice sessions are wet and teams don't get to prepare that much, then we have, I think, more exciting races. So I hope the rain will contribute in a good way this weekend.
And they say racing drivers don't beat themselves up over their results. I'll be here all week, tip your waiter. What an amazing paddock here in Mexico as we wrap up Paddock Pass. There's a barbershop here, cutting people's beards and moustaches for Movember. As I say, we've got piñatas, we've got a taco stand, we've got ice cream and churros. So it's just phenomenal here. Absolutely love this event, love this race. That is your lot from Paddock Pass on a weekend when, as we said, we expect Lewis Hamilton to be crowned a 5-time world champion. Or can Sebastian Vettel do something about it? The chances are so slim. But who knows? This wonderful place of the F1 Fiesta, you get the kind of feeling that anything can happen. And with the weather set to change drastically tomorrow, thunderstorms forecast for Friday, rain Saturday and Sunday. Anything can happen. That's your lot. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend. And for now, we'll see you later.